Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Legacy Unfolded, where we dive into the lives, legacies and untold stories of African leaders, heroes and game changers. Today's story is not just about power, it is about leadership, controversy, dignity and family. It is about Edgar Chagwa Lungu, Zambia's sixth president, whose passion in June 2025 sparked both national mourning and heated public discourse. But beyond the headlines and protocol lies a deeper, more emotional tale of legacy, respect, and the final wishes of a man whose life influenced a nation. Let's begin. Born on November 11, 1956 in Dola, Zambia, Edgar Lungu's life began far from the corridors of power. He studied law at the University of Zambia and later pursued military training with the Zambian National Service. But his journey into politics was shaped by dignity, loyalty, and country in transition. Lungu became a close ally of the late President Michael Sata, serving in various ministerial roles including justice and defense. Upon Sata's death in 2014, Lungu emerged as the Patriotic Front's presidential candidate, a move many thought was bold, if not unlikely. And in January 2015, he defied the odds. Edgar Lungu won the presidential by-election, becoming Zambia's sixth head of state. He would go on to serve 2 terms, though the legality of the first was always contested. Lungu's president was a mixed bag, depending on who you ask. Supporters praised him for expanding infrastructure, building roads, clinics, and schools. Under his leadership, Zambia also saw the emergence of development into rural provinces, giving access to electricity, water, and education to many who had long been forgotten. But critics say Lungu's government left Zambia in a debt crisis that is presided over shrinking democratic space, that journalists were harassed and opposition leaders were silenced. In 2016, he defeated Hakainde Hichilema in another tightly contested election, and 5 years later in 2021, the tides turned. Hakainde Hichilema triumphed in a landslide victory, and with that, Edgar Lungu bowed out. But the story didn't end there. Fast forward to 2025, Edgar Lungu had been living quietly, though not without controversy. Stripped of certain presidential benefits, denied travel permissions for specialized medical care. At times, he claimed to be surveilled and politically targeted. In May 2005, he was flown to South Africa for treatment. The illness not publicly disclosed. The silence deafening. And then, on June 5th, 2005, Edgar Lungu passed away in Pretoria, South Africa. He was 68 years old. His daughter, Tarsila Lungu, confirmed the news and Zambia fell into mourning. The government declared a 7-day period of national mourning. The media celebrated his contribution. His political party, the Patriotic Front, began planning for his return. But what should have been a solemn, united farewell soon unraveled into controversy. At the center of it all, a divided nation, a grieving family, and a government trying to take charge. The Lungu family refused to allow the Zambian government to repatriate the body on its terms. Their demands that President Hakainde Hichilema not attend the funeral, as it was alleged Lungu's dying wish. The family cited betrayal and humiliation in the years after Lungu left office. They spoke of how he was denied dignity and how it was only fair that they, not the state, should guide his burial. Despite negotiations, attempts to fly the body back on June 18th were halted twice. The government had planned a state funeral on June 22nd and burial at Embassy Park on June 23rd, but without the family's green light, nothing moved. Tensions rose, accusations flew, and ultimately, the government ended the mourning period on June 19th, leaving the question, what happens next? This story is more than just politics. It's about death, honor, and the final rights of a human being, one who once led 18 million Zambians, one who stood at the highest seat of power, and one who, in death, seeks the very dignity many claim he was denied in life. The question isn't whether Edgar Lungu was a perfect leader. Few are. The question is, how should we treat those who once served our nations? How do we separate politics from humanity? And how do we allow families to grieve without turning funerals into battlefields? Zambia is watching, Africa is watching, and the world is reminded that legacies aren't written in power, but in how we are remembered. Thank you for joining me on this emotional, powerful episode of Legacy Unfolded. Former President Edgar Chagwa Lungu's life was full of ambitions, leadership, trials, and transformation. As the family and government continues to disagree over his final rights, one thing remains clear: history is far from over. Until next time, I am Lennox Saugo, reminding you, true legacy lives not in what we build, but in the truth we leave behind. Subscribe, share, and join the conversation on social media platforms. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, bye.